Hey, I'm Phil Lyle, and I want to talk to you a little bit about a program that I've put together called Healing with Heart. And Healing with Heart is a program that came out of my experience with cancer. I was diagnosed with, in 2006, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and it was all in this area of my chest. All my lymph nodes and my lung tissue and my heart was afflicted with this lymphoma. And at the time I was taken aback, quite significantly taken aback, and scared and upset and insulted that I would get cancer, because I knew how not to get cancer. You know, I had been a runner for most of my life, and I had put stuff in blenders and juiced it up like Brussels sprouts and broccoli and green magma stuff, and I was drinking, you know, these concoctions every day, full of vitamins and full of lactobacillus and all kinds of fancy oils, and I was also eating lots of fruits and vegetables and a little bit of protein. And I was going to the gym, and I was, working out and lifting weights and stretching, and I was reading good. I was doing everything. I had better habits, I'm sure, than 99% of the people in Canada. And even though I thought I was doing all the right stuff not to get cancer, I still did get cancer. And not surprisingly, I got cancer in this area of my body. Because what I realized was the one thing that I hadn't been doing was I wasn't taking care of this thing, that I was living life from up here. And so it's not too wild that I ended up with all of this cancer around this resentful, bitter heart that I was harboring inside. And so it really threw me for a loop, and I spent a lot of time reading books, and I spent a lot of time listening to tapes on different kinds of healing and different kinds of emotional intelligence, because I really wanted to get to know what the heck was wrong with me. And so this program, Healing with Heart, came out of that exploration. I started pulling information from people like Wayne Dyer and Eckhart Tolle and Deepak Chopra and Buddha, the Bhagavad Gita and the Bible, and Louise Hay and Carolyn Myss and Marianne Williamson and Debbie Ford, and all these popular authors, I found were talking about very similar stuff. In fact, at the very core of this work that I do called Healing with Heart is we look at uncovering core limiting beliefs and challenging them, and hopefully giving them back to who gave them to us. Core limiting beliefs would be something like, they're very often these are beliefs that you learn in childhood. Someone gives them to you, and you take them from that person, and you throw them in this bag, and you carry them for the rest of your life, your life, without ever looking back there and challenging them and trying to figure out whether are they actually true. So a core limiting belief, for example, would be something like, I suck at math, which is a core limiting belief that I've heard in, 75-80% of women. A few men too, but especially women who grew up in the 60s, 70s, 80s even, 50s for sure. There was a societal thing about women just suck at math, they're not good at math. And there's no truth to it. But there are still lots of women today carrying around this belief, I suck at math. When I've asked over the years, the vast majority of these women and a few men will know immediately the time that they came on with that belief, I suck at math. It was some embarrassing event in front of the classroom where a teacher brought it up, or a kid brought it up, or they took a report card home and got the wrath of their parents. Something like that, an emotionally traumatizing event where this belief, I suck at math, gets seared into their consciousness and never challenged thereafter. And what I've also realized is that belief, even though that's a kind of a small one, I suck at math compared to some of the bigger core limiting beliefs, it still messes them up. When they go to balance their checkbook at the end of the month, when they go into the bank to renegotiate the mortgage, when they, everyday places where math comes up, these people, mostly women in my experience, begin to start to get afraid and flustered, and they want to kind of disappear with their calculator, get it done, and come back to the situation. So this I suck at math, like a lot of core limiting beliefs, continues to wreak havoc in their lives even 30, 40, 50 years later. Core limiting belief might be something like, every one of us probably has at some point or another imparted on our children that you can't trust strangers. In a well-meaning effort to protect our children, we impart this core limiting belief. You can't trust strangers. And that messes people up big time when they try to go on in later years to form loving relationships with friends, co-workers, intimate partners, children, etc. You gotta let go of that stuff. You can't be looking at everyone with the questioning, doubtful eye. You gotta let it go and go vulnerable to be in relationships with people, to create relationships for sure. And so another core limiting belief might be something like, I am not smart enough. And in fact, that is mine. In my family of origin, when I grew up, my dad was pretty smart. He had a really high IQ. He was probably a Mensa card carrying person. And my mom was an admirer of smarts. And so in my family, I was motivated to be smart. In her belief, smart meant good job meant good pay, money meant you would attract love. It was part of society back then. The belief was that money was at the center of the universe and that happiness orbited around this money, that as soon as you got enough money, happiness would soon thereafter become like an attracted, moth or something, and start swirling around in hordes around this money. Not so, as far as I can tell. Anyway, up here I know that I'm smart because I skipped a couple of grades in school when I was growing up, but somewhere deep down here, I don't feel like I'm smart enough. And that's the key word in a lot of core limiting beliefs, is that somehow I am not enough. I'm not smart enough, I'm not funny enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not tall enough, I'm not cool enough. Whatever you want to fill that blank in with, somehow core limiting beliefs say I am not enough. Or they might be the flip of that. I am too much of something, like I am too boring, or I am too fat, or I am too white, or too black, or too whatever color. Maybe I am too aggressive, or anyway, whatever you want to fill that in with. And that's not so much wanting to fill it in, it's imparted upon us when we were young children. And usually the person that imparts this message, this core limiting belief on us as children, is someone who is also suffering from that same belief. So I'm pretty sure, I don't know, I have to ask her, and she's not around anymore, but I'm pretty sure my mom might have been also suffering from the I am not smart enough core limiting belief. Now who cares, big deal. So what is a core limiting belief such a big deal? Well, because a core limiting belief, if you think about it in this way, that say you've just opened up this great book, and you flip to the first chapter, and you flip to the first page, and you read the first line. The first line says, "It was a dark and stormy night." Immediately that line, "It was a dark and stormy night," has set up at least the theme for that first chapter, but already it's also setting up how that book's going to end, what the middle of the book's going to be like, what kind of characters are going to come into the book. If it was a dark and stormy night, we're not going to a beach scene thereafter. You're not going to see people playing volleyball on the beach and a little badminton and sipping on their iced teas. That doesn't go with "It was a dark and stormy night." "It was a dark and stormy night" isn't going to be a backyard barbecue scene with the Australians and put another shrimp on the barbie. No, it's a little croquet. Who's up for a little croquet? It's not going to be like that. It was a dark and stormy night. I don't know about you, but for me, it's like ding, ding, ding. It's an Alfred Hitchcock. Ding, knives and curtains, shower curtains, and bats and lightning and cloudy, stormy nights. So that's the issue with core limiting beliefs, is that it sets up your life to be a certain reality. The same way as that first line of the book sets up the book to go in a certain direction, all of the possibilities available become narrowed down to something much more specific and narrowly focused. And the same is true for the reality that we create for our lives with a core limiting belief. And the kicker in all of this is that most core limiting beliefs are lies. There isn't a baby anywhere in the history of the world that was born sucking at math. It's something that we create, it's something that we bring upon ourselves. And the same is true for most core limiting beliefs. The thought that I am not enough smart or I am not enough good at math is a ridiculous notion. We are the way we are, that's our design. So thank you. This is the first part of a series of little mini lectures that I'd like to put on for people so that they can get an idea of what this program, Healing with Heart, is all about. And thank you for joining me. Stay tuned for part 2, 7 or 9 or whatever part's next.